The economic importance of selecting for feed efficiency was the topic of Lisa Rumsfeld's talk here at the Stockman School. Now, Lisa works for Vitelli, and she's based in Germany. Now, before we start, let's just set the scene. We in South Africa are very used to the term feed conversion ratio. But there's another one now, and that is net feed intake. Let's start by explaining the two concepts, please.
Sure. It's really always a pleasure to be here in South Africa. Just briefly, Vitelli is a precision livestock company, and we're helping producers with two really high-stakes decisions. It's who to breed and how to breed. And one of the important things that we consider in terms of mating selections is feed efficiency, and there's multiple ways of defining feed efficiency. The historical way is feed to gain or feed conversion, which basically says how much feed in to how much gain out, and that's a ratio trait. What Vitelli is focused on is a trait called NFI, or net feed intake. And what NFI does, it looks at measuring individual animal intake, and we're looking for those animals that have lower maintenance requirements so that ultimately over their lifetime and over the lifetime of their progeny, they're eating less, but they're gaining equal or more to their contemporaries. So it's a different way. You still need to measure intakes, but we're considering the gain factor of that, and we're equalizing animals based on their growth and production.
Is this the place where the whole thing of the output is also coming in methane, for example? Is this also where we can discuss this now?
Yeah, I think so. I think, there is a 0.83 correlation between dry matter intake, which is a component of feed efficiency, and methane production. So there's been lots of research in the industry. So what that means to us is that if we measure and select for animals that are feed efficient, their dry matter intake is less, therefore their greenhouse gases are less. So by measuring and selecting for efficient cattle, we're also selecting for low emitting cattle.
Yeah, so this is a win-win actually. Yeah.
It really is. And the other point about net feed intake, different than feed conversion ratio, is that it's a heritable trait. So there's been lots of research. It's a moderately heritable trait, which means that you can select for it with confidence, passing it down to the next generation, as well as the fact that it's an independent trait. So I can select for NFI as well as other traits of importance that to me, like fertility or carcass, and not be working against those other important traits.
And that makes it easier then to track progress. You spoke in your presentation about a 15-year period of measurement. Talk about that for me.
Yeah, Vitelli curates the largest multi-breed efficiency database. So we've got over 300,000 breeding values in for feed efficiency. And what I just presented is I looked at the last 15 years of data, of the breeding evaluations in our database. And what we saw is that there was a 32% reduction in our database in terms of efficiency. So we've improved the trait of efficiency by 32%.
That is staggering in my mind, but put it in context for the farmer. If I start selecting for feed efficiency, what will I gain?
Yeah, well, if you're able to identify those animals that are eating less, it means that every day those animals are in the fields or in the feedlot, they're going to eat less kilos of feed per day to get to that pay weight. So for the example I just gave was comparing two bulls, one ate 9 kilos less per day over the trial period. So you can extrapolate what 9 kilos a day means to your bottom line in terms of cost of feed. And we know in terms of breeding and cow-calf operations, 70% of the cost is feed.
Indeed, yeah. And then water comes into play as well.
Yeah, so we've always stayed at Vitelli grounded in research, and we see water as the next efficiency frontier. And so we've started measuring individual animal water intake on our technology in parallel with growth and intakes. And so we've got the capability to measure about 3,000 animals a year, and we're very optimistic that we'll be able to collect enough data to understand what the trait of water efficiency is. Is it heritable trait? Is it an independent trait? So how we can actually start selecting for water specifically, or selecting for feed efficiency and having the correlations to water efficiency.
Very exciting, but not conclusive, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yes, exactly. Stay tuned.
And that is Lisa Rumsfeld from Vitelli here at the Stockman School at Oldham.